something interesting has happened in the motorcycling world over the past 20 years. See, it wasn't that long ago that motorcycle manufacturers basically made one type of motorcycle. Now, this is the same thing that happened in the automotive world at large, although it happened way before it did for motorcycles. During this time, I think the 80s really, motorcycle companies started to make bikes for different kinds of people who wanted different things for their motorcycles to do for them. And this makes sense, but today it's really unbelievable what is expected from a motorcycle company. You have to offer an adventure bike, a sport bike, maybe a sport touring bike, retro bike, small displacement and large displacement, naked, race bikes. Like, it's just crazy. So today we're actually going to be looking at all of the different kinds of cars that one can buy, and I'm actually going to be giving you what I believe is the motorcycle counterpart for that style of car and that purpose of that car. Let me know down below in the comments if you agree or don't agree with my picks. Also, make sure to subscribe if you guys like this kind of video. Now, we have to start things off simple, and the simplest type of car that you can get is really just that, a car, like the quintessential car. And for me, that is the sedan. A sedan can include lots of different types of cars though, from things more sporty, or fancy, fast, a lot of luxury cars like BMW or Lexus or even a Tesla Model S. But sedan also makes up everything from, like, say, a Mazda 3 to a Honda Accord and everything else in between. For me, the motorcycle equivalent of a sedan would include a lot of touring bikes and even some sport touring bikes, as well as naked motorcycles. For me, naked bikes can be quite sporty and fun, just like many sedans can be. But for the most part, naked motorcycles have placed themselves right in the center as just sort of the quintessential motorcycle, just sort of standard A to B bikes. And yes, you can love them and adore them and polish them and wax them. I'm not saying that because a naked bike or a lot of naked bikes are like a sedan, that means that they're lame, because there's a lot of really cool sedans. But for a lot of people, these bikes are just commuter bikes. And that's really it. Again, these bikes are great. They do their job well. There's nothing undesirable about them. Many of them are amazing and super cool and really fast. But yeah, for me, along with sport touring and touring bikes, I think that the naked bike really sums up the sedan well. I feel like I'm already making people mad. Let me know if you disagree with this. That's totally fine. I'm open to disagreement. All right, now let's talk about trucks. And this one is kind of difficult because a truck, in theory, has a specific purpose that no motorcycle can really fulfill, whether it's pulling down a tree or like pulling a car out of a ditch, or honestly just carrying stuff. Unless you're talking about the early Harley Davidson Survey cars. Now, those were basically trucks in like the motorcycle world. So for me today, it's more about the essence. Like, what does a truck signify? And are there any motorcycles that really signify something similar, something American, something big and tough and strong and loud, often unnecessary? And for me, that's the cruiser. Now, just like you can buy a Japanese made truck, you can certainly buy a Japanese cruiser. It's not exclusively American, but this style of motorcycle and this overall aesthetic of cruisers and obviously Harleys is a very American thing. Like, literally American motorcycle manufacturers created this type of bike, and it really fits well with the truck crowd. Basically, if you're a truck guy and you want to go get a motorcycle, we all know what kind of bike you're going to get. Okay, that's probably not fair, but I feel like they do both capture kind of the same ideas. Next up is the sports car. Now, this one is a bit simpler in my opinion, pretty obvious. The motorcycle counterpart to the sports car is the sport bike. And I'll also include some street fighters here as well, because some of the street fighter bikes, like for example, the bikes made by MV Agusta and Ducati, these bikes are crazy fast. There's quite a bit of overlap here as well, especially when it comes to performance, from something like the 600cc sport bike that would be more, the equivalent of, say, like a WRX, to something like a Ducati Panigale or a Suzuki Gixxer, which would be more like, say, a Porsche 911. Some of you guys are going to hate these comparisons, so yeah, just take them with a grain of salt. I don't know what I'm talking about. I will say this about sports cars: they do seem to have way more variety when it comes to styling. Sport bikes often look the same. We need more bikes that really shake up the mold of what a fast, cool motorcycle looks like, because a lot of them just look the same. Next up, we have the SUV, and I feel like there certainly could be some debate here, but for me, the ultimate example of a motorcycle version of the SUV goes to the adventure bike. Now, certainly the adventure bike is an on-off-road vehicle, and for the most part, SUVs really aren't, but they're supposed to be. And that's my thing. A big hulking adventure bike really isn't an off-road machine either. Yes, they're capable, just like an SUV, but man, if you get on a little dirt bike, you're gonna absolutely blow an adventure bike out of the water the second you get off of the road. And certainly people use them for on and off-road purposes, but for the most part, I think most of the stats show that adventure bikes get ridden on the road. And, you know, I think SUVs also fit nicely into sort of that dad vehicle segment. SUVs are on-road vehicles for people who don't want a van. And adventure bikes are basically that. They're on-road vehicles, you know, that could get you out of a sticky situation. But, you know, I don't know. I feel like I'm making people mad with this video, especially this part, for those of you who ride adventure bikes, and I'm kind of digging myself a hole. But you know what? Let me dig myself a little bit of a bigger hole. At least most SUVs are cool looking. I don't get the whole adventure bike thing. Honestly, I don't know if I've ever seen an adventure bike that made me go, wow, that is really sweet. I guess MV Agusta has some cool adventure bikes, and I guess Ducati's is okay. It's okay. Listen, to each his own. Some of you guys love adventure bikes, and I'm not saying they're not amazing bikes, but in terms of styling, not my thing. All right, now let's talk about off-road vehicles and the counterpart to something like, say, a Jeep or a Bronco or a Land Rover or whatever other off-road vehicles are that you can get. Let's talk about the Jeep, because I have the perfect motorcycle for those of you who are Jeep lovers, and it is the Scrambler. The Scrambler, much like the adventure bike, is set up to be capable for off-road use, and much like the Jeep, though it looks capable and is capable, that's really not what people use them for. People buy Jeeps because they're cool. But yeah, knobby tires, sort of an old school stylish styling. Is that? I don't know. Whatever, you get the point. These vehicles are basically the same. But I can't forget a few other kinds of motorcycles that would fit into the segment of on-off road, which would be things like dual sports, enduros, and heck, even adventure bikes can be included. Because, you know, people like going on adventures, and sometimes that means you go off-road. All right, next up we have the off-road things like dune buggies and whatever else, I don't know, whatever else is available, other vehicles that are designed specifically for off-road use. I don't know. I don't really know of many. And for this one, it's pretty obvious. The dirt bike is the off-road vehicle in the motorcycling world. All right, next up we have the hypercar and the supercar, and for this, I'm going to say the closest thing we have is really these race-ready bikes like the Ducati Panigale V4S, the Superleggera, the Kawasaki H2R, which is basically the Bugatti of motorcycles. It's heavy and creates a stupid amount of horsepower and goes really fast in a straight line. But really, any motorcycle putting out over 200 horsepower, in my opinion, qualifies as like a hyper bike or a super bike. I will say motorcycles stand out a bit for me in this segment in comparison to hypercars and supercars, because you can get closer to a true race machine in the motorcycling world than you can a true race machine in the car world. Whether it's like a NASCAR or a Formula One car, you can't buy anything even remotely close to a Formula One car in terms of handling. You know, maybe you can get a good chunk of horsepower, but you cannot get a vehicle that really functions like that. But you can get a motorcycle that in terms of handling and power and braking and everything is really not too far off of a MotoGP bike. And that, my friends, when you really think about it, is kind of insane. Now, let's end this by talking about a type of vehicle that I love, and that is the van. Now, for me, there's only one motorcycle, not a segment of motorcycles, just one motorcycle that fits into this category, one motorcycle that encapsulates what it's like to drive a van in motorcycle form. Only one motorcycle that you genuinely think could haul a literal family across the country to go see something dorky like the world's largest truck stop or the world's largest ball of wax. And that motorcycle, my friends, the van of all motorcycles, is the Honda Goldwing.